Thousands of Israeli soldiers and civilians are being held hostage as part of an unprecedented attack by Palestinian militants on Israeli territory.
On October 7th, Hamas launched Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, where Hamas fighters crossed into southern Israel and killed around 1,200 people while dragging 250 hostages back to Gaza. In response, Israel launched a devastating ground and air campaign that has killed more than 28,000 Palestinians so far, displaced over half the population, and triggered a humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza.
What can you report at this stage? Please take cover.
It's the latest chapter in the broader Israeli-Palestinian crisis, which has been going on since 1948. But in the 21st century, wars aren't just fought on the battlefield, but also in the realm of public opinion.
Why don't you get kidnapped by them in Gaza and see if people run and save you?
Scholars have emphasized the importance of winning over public opinion in modern-day conflicts, labeling it as a key feature of 21st century warfare. And central to shaping these opinions is the media. How these conflicts are framed or presented in the media significantly influences public support, and consequently our government's foreign policy decisions.
The war is not just with Hamas. The war with all the civilians.
Look at the rallies and people holding up Nazi signs.
Yes.
We're going to hit back like you've never seen before.
Finish them. Finish them. Don't ever forget what happened.
And since October 7th, the events in Gaza have dominated global media coverage and have sharply divided our opinions, especially for us here in the West.
See, he will never condemn Hamas because
He has condemned
no,
Hamas.
but
Whilst many are critical of Israel's disproportionate use of force and atrocities, there are also many who continue to back Israel's right to self-defense against who they deem as terrorists. For a long time, activists, academics and commentators have all consistently raised concerns about Western media coverage of events in Gaza and the broader Israel-Palestine conflict. They accuse many Western news outlets, especially in the US, of bias in favour of the Israeli perspective, whilst marginalising and undermining the Palestinian viewpoint. But how does this bias work? How does the media influence us into sympathising with the Israeli perspective? And how has it made it so that Israeli violence is always seen as self-defense, whereas the same violence by Palestinians is always deemed as unacceptable terrorism? The answer lies in a research paper done by a scholar named Mohammed Al-Masri on media framing via something called legitimation. Mohammed Al-Masri, a professor at the Doha Institute of Graduate Studies, published a research paper back in 2009 which analysed the framing of killings in the Second Palestinian Intifada by influential US media outlets, namely the New York Times and Chicago Tribune. In his paper, he explained that media framing can portray or frame the same event negatively or positively, and hence shape our perceptions. Crucially, he adds that Western media outlets do this through the process of legitimation and delegitimation. He goes on to explain that there are three forms of this legitimation/delegitimation: justification, condemnation, and prominence. According to Al-Masri, the media tends to legitimize Israeli killings of Palestinians by framing them as justifiable, either implicitly or explicitly. This is done by including self-defense claims, explicit rationales, or portraying incidents as accidents during war or battle. On the flip side, condemnation involves delegitimizing Palestinian violence by implicitly framing it as unnecessarily aggressive, criminal, or cruel. In addition, they also seek to humanize the Israeli victims of this violence, while simultaneously dehumanizing the Palestinians. Lastly, prominence refers to the media legitimizing a particular perspective by making it more visible. This can involve giving one side more voice through sourcing, or assigning greater importance to stories expressing a specific viewpoint through placement of coverage. In Al-Masri's analysis, he highlights examples of media justifying Israeli violence, condemning Palestinian violence, and giving prominence to the Israeli perspective. These patterns, seen in the coverage of the Second Intifada, continue in today's coverage of the events in Gaza, as we have just shown. Media outlets are meant to inform and provide balanced coverage because they significantly affect public opinion, meaning this biased coverage has very real consequences. For example, in the case of Gaza, there's a strong argument that says Israel could have been pressured into a ceasefire if the US did not veto any key UN resolutions or decided to withhold military aid.
En contra.
Yet the US continues its policy of supporting Israel. And this is only possible because the vast majority of the public and decision makers sympathize with them, believing that their military campaign is justified despite the atrocities.
We will continue to have Israel's back as you work to defend your people.
And one of the reasons for this is the dominance of the Israeli perspective and legitimation of their violence against Palestinians by the media. However, change could be on the horizon. Increased awareness, fueled by social and alternative media, is challenging traditional narratives. We're seeing mass protests across the West and growing activism, particularly among the younger generation, which indicates a shift in public consciousness. More and more people are seeing and hearing the voices of Palestinians more than ever before and realizing the double standards that exist in the traditional mainstream media. To conclude, let's summarize the main points of this video. Amid the Israeli invasion of Gaza, the media's influence is undeniable, and the Western media, particularly in the US, exhibits a strong bias in favor of the Israeli perspectives.
The report is subject to Israeli military restrictions.
Mr. Masri, I know that
Research by Al-Masri and others show that how the media exhibit this bias through legitimizing Israeli violence whilst condemning Palestinian violence. And this has real-world consequences, and is arguably a key reason why Israel's invasion of Gaza is still going on. And finally, there is a growing shift in public opinion in the West, fueled by increased awareness through social and alternative media. The main takeaway for you is to just truly understand how media language can affect our perceptions so much, to the extent where we perceive two very similar violent actions in two completely different ways, one as justifiable self-defense, and the other as unacceptable terrorism. So we should always be aware when reading articles, and always think critically about the framing and the language that is being used. If you found this video informative, please like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, share your thoughts in the comments below. For any further reading or exploration, we'll be putting sources and references in the description below. For now, stay informed and keep questioning.